One. I was in a church practicing for a piano recital with my sister and another guy. Being the only people there, it was quiet besides the piano until there was some eerie hum like a ghostly choir that lasted for about a minute. We all had this same "what the hell was that" look on our faces. I'm not generally superstitious, but I noped out of there instantly with my sister and the other guy in tow. I hope I never hear that ever again. 2. I was outside having a cigarette very late one night. I sat there and suddenly heard something walking on the roof of my house. I thought I was imagining it because the roof is not really one someone would walk on. And then I heard a cat scream. But it didn't really sound right, as if the cat screaming wasn't on our plane of existence. It's hard to explain. And then I got this horrible, weird feeling that someone was dead or was going to die. I can't really explain that either, other than it was really creepy. I went inside after that and was extremely afraid and paranoid. Fast forward a couple of days later, when I got the feeling of death again, and I was 100% sure that someone had just died. And do you know what? Moments later, my mother came in and told me that my grandma had died. But the weird part is that my grandma used to have a cat that I'd play with when I was younger. The cat's name was Missy. Missy was a very quiet cat, and she loved to hop on my grandma's fence and then jump up on their roof and walk around up there. When I was a kid, I had been playing with Missy. I really loved cats, but they hated me, so I always tried to carry her around. But she got very angry at me once and screamed, and she scratched me on my forehead. It left a scar because I would pick on the scab and all that. The scar faded and was barely visible because of how long ago it was. But I swear, after my grandma died, the scar became more visible than before. Now I know this probably sounds silly, but I feel like Missy was the cat walking on the roof and screaming that night. I feel like she was warning me about my grandma's death. Or maybe she was just haunting me for the fun. I'll never know. I've never believed in ghosts or anything, but this whole experience made me question that belief. Three. One of the first paranormal things I remember is this figure moving between rooms in my mom's old apartment. I was casually watching television. I don't recall the show, but I was sitting a few feet away from it. This position I was in allowed me to see partly down the hallway if I turned my head. The first 2 rooms, from left side of the hall to the right side, was the washing machine and my sister's room. Next to my sister's was mine and my brother's room. At the end of the hall, next to my room, was my mom's. I remember clear as day, out of the corner of my eye, seeing a figure shaped like a man walk from my sister's room to the bathroom, then from my room to my mom's room, without coming out of the bathroom. The thing is, I looked around the living room after seeing that, and everyone that lived in the apartment was there. There was no one in that section of the house. That's not the only time I saw him, though. When I was younger, I used to use a nightlight. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, one night, and staring at the opposite corner of my room. Why? Because that's where the figure was. The man who had walked into each room of the apartment. I couldn't make out the details of how he looked. He was far too away from the nightlight to actually help. He never moved. I was too scared to move either. Eventually, I fell back to sleep, but I never forgot that night. That was the last time I saw him. He wore a hat and a trench coat. They were both dark, I assumed to stay hidden. His movements were smooth, as if casually walking. 4. This one time, I was in my aunt's apartment building's elevator. This was when I was in high school, during the summer. I was going back upstairs after swimming in the apartment's pool for a bit, when I decided I would take a quick picture. I don't know why I wanted to, but I sort of posed with my hand close to the mirror in the elevator. The shot I got was completely different from what was supposed to be there. Besides having me in the shot, there was smoke trying to wrap itself around my hand. I still have the pictures saved on my computer. I remember showing it to my now ex-girlfriend and zooming in on it. There almost looked like there was a skull in the smoke. She told me to delete it and never show it to her again. I understand that rare errors can happen with photos. Looking at the photo now, it's faint, but the shape of the face is still there. Five. Back in August of 2010, I was on the sleeper train from Scotland down to London. My grandfather was dying, and I was trying to get to the hospital in London so I could see him before he died. At 5 a.m., I woke up and saw my granddad in the cabin just watching me sleep. He didn't move or say anything. It was like he was just watching me sleep. I said to him, "I'm coming, grandfather. Please hold on." He faded, and I, eventually, went back to sleep. I arrived in London around 7 a.m., and my dad met me at the train station. He really didn't say much, just made small talk. And then once we got back to his car, he said, "By the way, your grandfather passed away at 5 a.m. this morning. I'm sorry." 5 a.m., the same time that I saw him on the train. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the show. If you have a story to share, send us an email, like us on Facebook, share, like, and subscribe.